From the very first seconds, you sense something strange in the air, a subtle, almost silent feeling, as if an invisible force were trying to whisper something you can't yet understand. And it is precisely here that the story begins, with a mystery that Nikola Tesla claimed was the key to everything that exists. But before you think you've heard of this before, know that what Tesla discovered isn't in the books you know, nor in popular documentaries, much less in the simplified versions of modern science. What he saw was too profound, too transformative, and therefore disturbing to many people. Tesla said that the entire universe revolves around a single vibration, a kind of sacred pulse that permeates everything: the human body, the atmosphere, space, matter, thoughts, and even what we usually call chance. For many people, this seemed like just an enigmatic phrase. For him, it was a direct observation, as real as the sound of a machine operating, or the flash of an electrical discharge in a darkened laboratory. And it is here that the first questions arise that no one has been able to answer satisfactorily. Why did such a brilliant mind speak with such conviction about something that science ignored? And even more unsettling, why did so many try to discredit precisely this part of his work? Imagine Tesla alone, walking silently at the end of a night, observing the city lights with that deep gaze that seemed to pierce through everything. He said he could hear the Earth's vibrational field, as if he were tuning his own mind to something greater. And it's impossible not to think, how can someone hear something that most people don't even perceive? Perhaps because, unlike most people, he wasn't afraid to look at the invisible. What frightened the world wasn't Tesla, but the possibility that he was right. As he progressed in his studies, he realized that human feelings such as fear, courage, clarity, and confusion were not isolated phenomena within the mind. They had vibrational form, energetic impact, real frequency. He said that certain vibrations were so aligned with the structure of the universe that they could reorganize the lives of those who accessed them. Some would call this spirituality. Others would call it delusion. Tesla called it science. And this mixture deeply disturbed all those who preferred a world in which each person was predictable, limited, and disconnected from their own potential. Here arises the first micro-conflict that needs to be faced. If there truly is a sacred vibration that influences human destiny, why haven't we learned about it? Why have we grown up believing that reality is only concrete, stable, and indifferent to what we feel? And above all, who would be interested in hiding something like that? Tesla understood that vibration was not just a physical phenomenon, but also a psychological one. He stated that bad thoughts vibrated in a disordered way, creating chaos, blockages, and repetitive patterns. Meanwhile, coherent thoughts vibrated like a clean wave, capable of attracting order, opportunities, and even improbable synchronicities. This vision positioned humankind as creators, not victims of fate. And perhaps this is precisely the point that explains why the world never wanted this part of knowledge to become popular. Even today, when we talk about vibration, many people turn up their noses. They find it strange, mystical, improbable. But the truth is that Tesla was never a man of beliefs, but rather a man of evidence. And what he saw during his experiments, travels, and studies led him to a disturbing conclusion. There is a vibrational structure that sustains everything, and it responds directly to human consciousness. This means that at a certain level, each person is responsible for shaping their own experience, not with superficial positive thoughts, but with the way they vibrate emotionally and energetically. Think for a moment about the times you've had an inexplicable feeling that something was about to happen, or when you met someone and, even before speaking, you felt a connection, or when you decided to take a risky step and, for some reason, everything started to align, as if the universe were pushing you forward. Most people call this coincidence. Tesla called it resonance, and he said that resonance is the clearest proof that there is a sacred vibration guiding everything. Another intriguing question arises when we analyze his speeches. Tesla believed that when human beings are aligned with this primordial vibration, they access a higher intelligence, a kind of clarity that doesn't come from logical reasoning, but from something deeper. He spoke of this as if describing a direct experience, a feeling of connection with a larger field, as if he were hearing silent answers coming from the very fabric of reality. What if this were true? What would change in the way we live, decide, and seek meaning? Throughout this part, the viewer begins to realize that the theme is much larger than it initially seemed. It's not just about physics, nor just about spirituality. It's about how vibration shapes life, identity, and even human destiny. And when you place Tesla at the center of this discussion, everything becomes even more unsettling. Because he wasn't just anyone, he was the kind of mind that saw decades beyond his time, the kind of vision that disturbs, because it shows that we are much more than we've been told. And here arises the last micro-conflict of this part. If Tesla really discovered a vibration that connects the body, the mind, and the universe, why have we never studied this in school? Why doesn't any institution encourage this kind of inner exploration? And most importantly, what would happen if people learned to access this vibration consciously? Perhaps the answer is too simple for many to accept. Those who control the world prefer people who doubt themselves, who feel small and disconnected. A person who understands their own vibration becomes unpredictable, autonomous, and profoundly awakened. And this has always represented a threat to any system that needs emotional dependence to maintain itself. That is why this section ends right here, leaving a question that cannot be ignored. If Tesla perceived this sacred vibration, studied it, documented it, and tried to reveal it to the world, what exactly happened when he decided to present it publicly? What emerged on the other side of this knowledge? And who fought to erase it? The answer begins in the next part, and it's far more unsettling than you might think. When Tesla began exploring the vibrations he believed to be the basis of reality, the science of the time lacked the instruments capable of keeping up with his thinking. While many researchers were still debating basic concepts of electricity, he was already talking about invisible fields, standing waves, and frequencies that passed through matter as if it were merely a temporary illusion. It was as if he saw a hidden map of the universe while the rest of the world was still trying to understand the surface. And this difference in perception marked the beginning of a journey that would change everything. Tesla quickly realized that certain vibrations provoked unexpected reactions. During some experiments, seemingly ordinary machines reacted in unusual ways. Lights oscillated on their own, geometric patterns appeared without explanation, and sometimes even his own body seemed to respond to the surrounding field. He said he felt a kind of invisible pulse that guided his ideas, as if there were an intelligence within the vibration trying to communicate with whoever was paying attention. To many, this sounded like imagination, but to him, it was pure observation. To understand what Tesla felt, just recall some everyday situations you've probably experienced. Think about that moment when you enter a room and, without knowing why, feel that something is wrong. Nobody said anything, nothing happened, but your body perceived it. Or when you think of someone and a few seconds later that person sends a message. Or even when something inside you tells you not to go down a certain path, and later, you discover that an accident happened precisely at that location. These events seem random, but Tesla believed they were clear signs that a vibrational field was constantly at work. He said that vibration informs before the mind understands. In his view, this field was not only physical, but also emotional and mental. And this made many people uncomfortable, because it meant that human beings were an active part of a larger system, not just passive observers of the world. Tesla also realized that certain emotional states altered a person's internal vibration. When we are anxious, for example, everything seems more confusing, more chaotic. Things go wrong more often, decisions become burdensome, the mind becomes a labyrinth. But when we are calm, focused, or inspired, the world seems to respond more clearly. Doors open, ideas emerge, coincidences happen. For most, this seems like just common human sensations. For Tesla, it was pure physics. He said that emotions are waves, and where there is a wave, there is frequency. Where there is frequency, there is influence. And where there is influence, there is a connection between the human being and the invisible field of the universe. As Tesla deepened his studies, he began to identify patterns that other people couldn't see. He believed that certain places carried specific vibrations. In some cities, he felt a fast pace that made him restless. In others, the vibration was so harmonious that it seemed to facilitate creativity and reasoning. There are accounts that he chose his workplaces not by size or structure, but by the vibrational sensation he received upon entering. He silently sought alignment with what he called the natural frequency of the earth. This may seem far removed from everyday life, but it isn't. How many times have you needed to study or work and noticed that in some places, your mind simply doesn't function properly, while in others, ideas flow easily, as if you were connected to a greater source? It is precisely this type of difference that Tesla took seriously. One of the most curious episodes from this phase of his life occurred in his laboratory, when an experiment with mechanical vibration began to produce unexpected effects. The machine was small, simple, and seemingly harmless, but it began to generate such an intense oscillation that it made the entire building shake. Tesla immediately shut everything down and ran outside with his assistants. He realized at that moment that tiny vibrations, when in resonance with the correct structure, could generate gigantic effects. What a small instrument caused to a building was just a symbol of what internal vibrations can cause in a person's life. Small emotional changes, small mental adjustments, small aligned decisions can completely transform reality. The vibrational impact is always greater than it seems, and this point is essential. Tesla didn't study vibrations out of scientific curiosity. He believed they were the key to understanding human consciousness. For him, the mind was not just a generator of thoughts, but a receiver and transmitter of frequencies. What we think, feel, and imagine doesn't stay trapped inside our heads. It spreads, passes through walls, touches other people, changes the emotional climate of an environment. And this idea brings up an inevitable question. If each person vibrates and influences the world around them, whoever controls their own vibration controls their own life. However, this perspective began to generate resistance. The science of the time feared this mixture of physics and consciousness. Institutions didn't want the public to believe they possessed inner power, and influential people disliked the idea that the world could be shaped individually. This led Tesla into a gray area of science, respected for his genius, but rejected for discoveries that threatened established structures. The world wanted his inventions, not his revelations, and whenever he delved deeper into the sacred vibration, doors began to close. At this point, one of the most important conflicts arises. Tesla realized he wasn't just studying a physical phenomenon. He was touching on something that crossed scientific, emotional, and even spiritual boundaries. And this meant that his discoveries would not be received neutrally. He began to hear whispers, veiled criticisms, and indirect warnings. Influential people were watching him cautiously. And it was then that Tesla understood he was about to cross a line that few dared to cross. The question that arises now is inevitable. What does one do when one discovers a truth too powerful to ignore, yet too dangerous to reveal? Tesla chose to continue, but that choice had consequences. He was approaching the point where knowledge ceases to be fascinating and begins to become inconvenient for those who wish to keep the world exactly as it is. That is why the next part of the story is so important. Because just as Tesla began to advance towards sacred vibration, forces he did not expect began to act in the shadows, and the first attempts to silence his discoveries were about to happen. When Tesla began to explore territories no one dared to venture into, something silent and unsettling began to stir around him. Up to that point, his genius was seen as a kind of scientific spectacle. Inventions, public demonstrations, discoveries that both fascinated and frightened. But when he began to investigate vibration as a fundamental structure of reality, the reaction was no longer one of admiration, but of unease. He was entering a field where science, consciousness, and power began to intersect dangerously. And it is precisely at this intersection that the world decides who should be heard and who should be silenced. The first sign that something was wrong came when some of his reports simply disappeared. There was no official explanation. No one took responsibility. One day they were there, the next day they were gone. Someone might say it was carelessness, organizational failure, but Tesla didn't believe in such convenient coincidences. He knew his own work better than anyone, and knew exactly which documents were too sensitive to disappear without reason. And this wasn't the only time. Entire files dealing with specific vibrations, resonance patterns, and psychophysical effects vanished, as if they had never existed. Why these specific documents? Why didn't his notes on motors, coils, or common electrical systems disappear? This is where the first question that breaks the flow arises. What would anyone gain by erasing Tesla's vibrational knowledge? Even without clear answers, Tesla began to notice another strange phenomenon. Funding that had previously flowed easily began to be cut off without convincing justification. Companies that had once sought his mind now seemed uncomfortable maintaining any ties. Influential people who had praised him began to treat him with a kind of careful distance, as if they were observing every word he said. It wasn't outright rejection. It was something more subtle, more calculated. The feeling was that someone, somewhere, had decided that Tesla was going too far. Have you ever noticed how sometimes people only start to distance themselves when you discover something they'd rather keep hidden, as if your clarity threatens their comfort zone? Despite all this, Tesla did not back down. On the contrary, he began to speak more intensely about universal vibration, stating that it was impossible to understand the universe without understanding it. He openly said that vibration responded to human consciousness, and that when humanity fully understood this, it would change its way of life. But this message did not please those who wanted a predictable world. By revealing that each person had their own vibrational power, Tesla planted in others the idea of autonomy. And autonomy is not something that control systems like. The reaction became even more evident when some newspapers began to ridicule him. The same man who months before was treated as a visionary now appeared in headlines with a tone of contempt, as if he had lost his mind. Do you see the irony? When you point to something too big, there's always someone trying to reduce you to something small. Some of these news stories were so distorted that they seemed written by people who had never understood a single line of his work. And yet, they had an impact. Public opinion is easily shaped when the truth is frightening. But here another essential question arises. If all this was just paranoia or exaggeration, why did so many forces turn against a single man? The intellectual persecution wasn't visible like a scene from a movie. It happened through doors that no longer opened, invitations that never arrived, funding that evaporated, and experiments that mysteriously failed due to external interference. And at the same time, people emerged saying that Tesla was going too far. The truth is that these forces weren't concerned with his inventions. They were concerned with the sacred vibration. This discovery had implications too profound to be revealed to the public. Implications about the human mind, about emotional freedom, about the capacity to create one's own reality. All of this was dangerous for someone who thrived by controlling the beliefs of others. Have you ever considered that some discoveries are not rejected due to a lack of evidence, but because of the overwhelming impact they would have if accepted? The story takes a more intense turn when we discover that Tesla wasn't just studying vibrations. He was close to proving that consciousness could interact directly with the surrounding energy field. For much of traditional science, this was absurd. For sectors with darker interests, it was threatening. Because if the human mind has a direct vibrational impact, then each person possesses a power that no authority structure can control. And this type of revelation always generates conflict. Amidst this scenario, Tesla received unexpected visits at his laboratory. Some were from people who claimed to be curious, others supposed investors. But their questions weren't about motors, nor about electricity. They were about vibration, about specific patterns he was studying, about resonance mechanisms that could be used to generate large-scale effects. It was evident that some of these people weren't seeking knowledge, but rather control. Why would anyone be so eager to understand only the vibrational aspect of Tesla's work? Things worsened when an influential group tried to convince him to abandon this line of research altogether. It wasn't a suggestion. It was subtle, but firm pressure. They wanted Tesla to focus on useful inventions, not philosophical revelations. They said that nobody would care about invisible vibrations, that it was a waste of time, that he was risking his reputation. But if it was truly irrelevant, why were they so worried? This type of contradiction reveals more than any missing document. When the world tries to silence something so forcefully, it's because that something has an impact that no one is prepared to admit. While everyone else was focused on his visible inventions, Tesla was perceiving an invisible structure that could change the world. And that's precisely what made him a target. He challenged systems that existed long before his birth and would continue to exist long after. He revealed that vibration is a universal language that connects everything, and this revelation could not be controlled. What no one imagined was that, years later, modern science would begin to confirm exactly what Tesla had been trying to warn against. But before that confirmation, he had to face the darkest period of his intellectual journey. And this is precisely where this part ends. At the moment when Tesla understands that he is not only fighting against scientific limitations, but against forces that do not want in any way the sacred vibration to be understood. The question now is inevitable. What happens when the truth they are trying to hide begins to slip through the cracks of science itself? The answer comes closer in the next part, and it changes everything. Decades after Tesla's death, something curious began to happen. Scientific discoveries that once seemed impossible became reality, almost as if the world was being forced to accept what he had tried to reveal long before his time. Strange to realize this. Modern science, even reluctantly, began to confirm exactly what Tesla said about vibration, frequency, and the universal energy field, as if the universe itself had patiently waited until human instruments were able to record what Tesla already intuited, like a man listening to music that no one else could hear. The turning point came with quantum physics, when Max Planck stated that matter does not exist in itself, but rather a vibrational field sustaining everything. He unintentionally touched upon the heart of Tesla's ideas. The idea of a vibrational universe ceased to be philosophy and became science. Years later, studies showed that even electrons, which we imagined spinning as small solid spheres, do not have a fixed position, only probabilistic oscillations. In other words, everything we consider real is a vibrational dance masked by a solid appearance, exactly as Tesla said. But the most unexpected findings came from experiments involving brainwaves. Scientists began to realize that specific emotions produced vibrational patterns that could be measured in hertz. Anxiety, fear, mental clarity, intuition, all of these had their own frequencies. And when these frequencies were in harmony, the brain functioned coherently, producing states of deep focus, intense creativity, and even sensations of expanded consciousness. This wouldn't surprise Tesla. He claimed that the brain is a receiver, and that vibration determines what we receive from reality. Now, laboratories were finally able to measure what he already knew. An unexpected fact that intrigued the scientific community emerged in 1992, when researchers at Stanford University discovered that the human heart produces an electromagnetic field that is 5,000 times stronger than that of the brain. Furthermore, this field expands several meters around us, influencing people and environments even without touch or words. What we call someone's energy is not a metaphor, it's physics. Tesla would have seen this as further proof that vibration is not just a property of the external world, but something deeply connected to emotional state and human consciousness. And perhaps the most symbolic thing of all happened when scientists analyzed the Earth's natural resonances. The so-called Schumann resonance, a global frequency that vibrates around 7.83 Hz, coincides with the brain state of deep relaxation and heightened intuition. In other words, the Earth vibrates at the same frequency as the human mind when it is connected, calm, and awake. Is this a coincidence? Tesla, who spoke with such conviction about the relationship between the planet's natural field and people's inner state, would probably say no. To make this even more tangible, imagine this. When you enter a tense environment, your body reacts immediately. Your muscles tense, your breathing changes, your heart races. But when you enter a place with harmonious vibrations, like a calm, quiet place with natural light, the feeling changes instantly. This isn't just psychological, it's vibrational. Studies show that environments with disordered electromagnetic noise can increase stress by 30%, while coherent environments reduce anxiety by up to 50%. The human body is an antenna, and this antenna responds to the surrounding field. As Tesla said, it is impossible to separate the human being from the vibrational environment in which he lives. A true story that illustrates this happened in 2003 in Japan. A group of researchers decided to study the emotional vibration of people on crowded trains. They realized that when a single person was deeply calm, their coherent heart rate affected everyone around them, creating a domino effect that reduced collective stress. Just one human vibration could reorganize an entire environment. Tesla had already stated something similar. A single aligned individual can influence many who are not. What seemed like philosophy has now become statistics. Another surprising fact emerges in the field of water. In repeated experiments, water molecules change their crystalline structure depending on the vibration or intention emitted by the person. Words of hate create chaotic fractals. Words of love create perfect geometric patterns. If we remember that the human body is composed of 70% water, it becomes clear that human vibrations have a direct impact on the organism. Tesla stated that every thought creates form, and now science shows that this is true, at least at the molecular level. But none of this is as profound as the discovery made in the field of unified physics. Modern researchers such as Nassim Haramein have found geometric and vibrational patterns present in everything: atoms, galaxies, cells, brainwaves. It's as if the entire universe were built on the same code. The same frequency that organizes the micro organizes the macro. What is small reflects what is large. This vibrational fractal structure is one of the visions Tesla described when he said that nature is but a pattern repeated to infinity. He didn't have computers, lasers, or advanced algorithms, but his mind worked as if it had direct access to the hidden code of the universe. And here comes the most intriguing part. All these discoveries, brain waves, earth resonance, heart coherence, water vibration, geometric patterns, align with something Tesla always claimed but never managed to prove scientifically in his time: that there is a sacred vibration, a primordial frequency that connects everything and everyone, and that resonates within the human being like a silent code. This vibration is not religious, it is not metaphysical, and it is not a symbol. It is a real, measurable, and constant structure. When science finally began to realize this, a new question arose. If this vibration has existed for billions of years, why did it take us so long to recognize it? Perhaps because we only recognize that which does not threaten the structures that govern our way of thinking. Perhaps because admitting that vibration is the language of the universe puts humankind back at the center of creation, not as a spectator, but as an active participant. And perhaps above all, because accepting this truth means acknowledging that everything we feel, think, and emit influences the world around us in a much deeper way than we imagine. That's why this section ends on a crucial point. Now that you've seen how modern science confirms what Tesla always knew, the inevitable question is, if this vibration really exists and can be used, why don't we teach anyone how to access it? The answer leads directly to the next part, where the focus shifts from the external world to you. Because sacred vibration isn't just in the universe, it's within every human being. When you begin to understand that vibration is not just a property of the universe, but something that acts within you every second, everything changes. The story ceases to be about Tesla, about science, or about invisible fields. It becomes about your life, about what you feel when you wake up, about what you carry within your heart without realizing it. It is here that sacred vibration ceases to be a theory and becomes a direct experience. Something you live even without understanding it. And perhaps that is precisely why they tried to hide it. Because if you knew what it really does, you would never again accept living disconnected from yourself. Tesla believed that human beings are more powerful than they imagine. But this power is not expressed in the form of physical strength or logical intelligence. It is expressed vibrationally. When you are in internal coherence, when mind, emotion, and intention are aligned, something extraordinary happens. The external world seems to respond to you. Small coincidences begin to appear, decisions become easier, the right people appear, obstacles diminish. It's as if reality is trying to cooperate with you. Today we call this synchronicity. Tesla called it resonance. Imagine a day when everything seems to fall into place. You leave home and, without realizing it, make a decision that avoids being late. Then you unexpectedly run into someone you needed to see again. You receive news that seemed impossible. The day flows as if it were orchestrated by something greater. This isn't luck. This is you vibrating in harmony with the surrounding environment. But the opposite is also true. When you are in internal conflict, when you carry fear, anxiety, anger, or doubt, everything seems to freeze. Doors close, situations become complicated, conversations become tense, opportunities disappear. Not because the universe is against you, but because your vibration is misaligned. And when that happens, you lose sensitivity, you lose perception, you lose clarity. This is where the question arises that few dare to answer. How much of your life is the result of your choices, and how much is the result of the vibration you carry without realizing it? Tesla said that an individual who controls their vibration cannot be controlled by anyone else. This phrase is simple yet profound. It exposes the reason why this knowledge has never been openly taught. A person who understands their own vibrational field ceases to be emotionally dependent on external systems. They think independently, they feel deeply, and most importantly, they recognize when they are being manipulated, misled, or distracted. What system in the world would have an interest in everyone being like that? What's most impressive is that several signs of this vibration already appear in your daily life, even if you're not fully aware of it. When you feel unexpected chills upon hearing a profound truth, that's vibration. When your body knows it should avoid a place or a person, even before your mind understands why, that's vibration. When you're about to make an important decision and feel a strong impulse, almost like an inner force guiding you, that's also vibration. And when suddenly something inside you seems to awaken, opening up a level of clarity you didn't have before, that's the sacred vibration trying to bring you back to your center. None of these sensations are random. They are signs that you are connected, even if only partially, to the vibrational field that Tesla studied. The human body always knows before the mind, and this silent intelligence is exactly what control systems fear most. There is no possible control over someone who trusts their own inner perception. There is no manipulation that works on someone who feels the vibrational truth even before hearing the words. This is why so many people today live in a state of profound disconnection. We are bombarded daily by stimuli that take us away from our center, screens that drain our attention, news that provokes fear, comparisons that generate insecurity, demands that emotionally exhaust us. All of this breaks vibrational coherence, and when you lose coherence, you also lose the ability to perceive the subtle field that Tesla described. You no longer feel intuition, you no longer perceive signs, you no longer recognize synchronicities. You become trapped only in what is visible, ignoring what truly shapes life. But that doesn't mean this state is permanent. The sacred vibration doesn't disappear. It simply represses itself, waiting for you to be silent enough to hear it again. And when you hear it again, even if only for a few seconds, something inside you awakens. You feel a kind of internal alignment, as if your energy is naturally reorganizing itself. This is not fantasy. It's physiology, psychology, and vibrational physics working together. A simple example can help illustrate this. Think of a time when you were upset and someone nearby, with genuine calmness, managed to soothe you simply by their presence. No specific words, no elaborate advice, just their presence. This happens because the human body, when in coherence, emits vibrations that influence the field of other people. A calm heart sends electromagnetic waves that reorganize the environment. This has been measured, repeated, and documented. Now consider, if just one coherent person is capable of transforming the environment, imagine what happens when you become that person every day. That's why Tesla always insisted on the importance of personal vibration. For him, the true strength of a human being lies not in their external abilities, but in their inner state. He believed that when a person accesses the correct vibrational level, they can transform not only their own life, but everything around them. And even though many have tried to discredit this vision, time has proven him right. Today, we know that vibration influences mood, decisions, relationships, health, and even the perception of opportunity. The crucial point is that this vibration is not something mysterious or unattainable. It arises when you reduce internal and external noise, when you align emotion with intention, when you pause the excessive stimuli and allow your energy to return to its natural state. And this natural state, coherent, stable, connected, is exactly the state that Tesla believed to be the true human identity. That's why this section ends with a question you can't ignore. If the sacred vibration is so powerful and already acts within you daily, what happens when you learn to consciously activate it? The answer lies in the next part, and it reveals the most transformative point of this entire script. By now, you've realized that sacred vibration isn't just an ancient theory, a secret kept by Tesla, or a philosophical concept reserved for intellectuals and scholars. It's the invisible thread that runs through your life from day one, accompanying every emotion, every decision, every encounter, and every silent thought you hold within yourself. Now comes the real turning point, understanding that this vibration isn't outside, hidden in laboratories or in rare books. It's inside you, waiting to be consciously awakened. Tesla said that, When you tune into the universe responds. This means that however distant everything may seem, the beginning of change is within reach of anyone who has the courage to look within. But to transform this into real action, it is necessary to create a kind of inner practice, something simple but profound, capable of reorganizing your vibrational field from the inside out. Transformation doesn't happen only when you understand, but when you apply it. And this section exists for that reason, to provide a clear, direct, and achievable path for you to awaken what has already existed within you for a long time. The plan is based on 3 simple yet powerful pillars. The first pillar is vibrational awareness. This means observing your emotions honestly. Instead of running away from what you feel, you acknowledge the vibrational state you are in and ask yourself, what is this creating in my life right now? When you ask this question, you open a door that almost no one opens. You stop reacting automatically and begin to realize how much of your day is guided by disordered vibrations that you carry without realizing it. This awareness alone reorganizes many things internally because it brings clarity. The second pillar is the daily practice of aligning your vibration. There is no real change without routine. And this doesn't mean long meditations or complex practices. It means, for example, taking 3 minutes a day to breathe deeply, slow down your internal rhythm, observe your thoughts, and bring back emotional coherence. 3 minutes. Studies show that in just that time, the heart can enter a state of coherence, reorganizing its electromagnetic waves and influencing your brain. When you do this every day, you begin to notice more frequent coincidences, clearer thoughts, and lighter decisions. The field responds. The third pillar is vibrational action. A powerful inner state is only complete when it transforms into concrete action. This means intentionally choosing one action per day that aligns with the vibration you wish to cultivate. It's something simple, sending a message you've been putting off, organizing something that's cluttering your mind, saying no to something that no longer makes sense, starting a project you've been putting off out of fear, or simply making a choice that brings you closer to the life you want to live. Each small action changes your field because it reinforces the vibration you are building. Vibration creates action, and action sustains vibration. And why does this work? Because you stop living guided by internal chaos and start living guided by a clean, stable, aligned frequency. The mind becomes clearer, the body responds better, and the external world begins to cooperate. It's as if you were tuning an instrument that has always been out of tune. When the instrument is tuned, the music changes, and your life changes too. But there's an important detail. None of these steps work if you insist on treating yourself as someone disconnected. Vibration isn't something you seek, it's something you reveal. It appears when you stop trying to control everything and begin to allow your energy to find its own way. Every time you silence the chaos, the sacred vibration rises. Every time you choose to act with intention, it strengthens. Every time you respect your own emotional rhythm, it expands. This is where the deepest reflection of this journey arises. How many times have you lived trapped by vibrations that aren't your own? How many times have you absorbed the fear of others, the pessimism of the environment, the anxiety of situations that weren't even yours to carry? And how many times has this shaped your life without you realizing it? When you understand this, you finally comprehend the true power of this vibration. It doesn't exist to control you. It exists to liberate you. Tesla never wanted to create machines that merely illuminated cities. He wanted to awaken minds. He knew that the world would only change when each person discovered the hidden vibration within themselves. And now, at this final point in the video, you have 2 choices. Continue living as if nothing has changed, or begin to apply, even in a simple way, what you felt while watching. To help you internalize all of this, here's a quick, practical, and emotionally profound exercise you can do today. Close your eyes for a few moments, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, what vibration am I choosing right now? Don't answer with words. Feel the answer. Then choose a simple action to align your energy with what you want to feel. It can be something small, a simple beginning. The vibrational field responds much more to your state than to your words. And when you put intention and action together, something inside you begins to silently realign, as if the universe had been waiting for exactly this moment. And perhaps that's why you've arrived here, not by chance, but because your own vibration brought you to this video to remind you of what has always been there, but has remained dormant. Now, the final decision is yours. Awaken or return to automatic mode. The sacred vibration doesn't force anyone, it simply calls. And now it's calling you. If this video touched you in any way, if it awakened something deep within you, or if you want to learn to align yourself more and more with this vibration, I want to kindly ask you for something. Subscribe to the channel because it keeps you connected to content that strengthens your vibration. Like the video because this shows the algorithm that you want to continue receiving messages of this type, and leave your comment. Even if anonymous, please share your question, your experience, or the feeling you had during this video. I read them all because each story is a vibration that adds to this field we are building together. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this excitement. The next step is yours, and it could change everything.